I don't know if favorite is the right word, but the number that has taken over my life is 40, 40. I'm Kaushik Basu. I'm the chief economist and a senior vice president at the World Bank. We are looking at the growth rate of the incomes of the bottom 40%. And at one level, this is a philosophical idea coming from John Rawls, the philosopher, that judges society by how the poorest and the worst of people fare. And it's the same idea that is there in Gandhi's writings, that think of the weakest and the poorest person when you are caught in a dilemma and do what is good for that person. From these rather sublime and philosophical ideas to come down to something operational, where the World Bank can organize its activities around, you need a hard number. For the poorest people and the richest people, it's very well known, it's very difficult to compute their exact income. The richest people don't know what their income is, and the poor get their incomes from so many sources. An odd job here, a little bit of food given by someone, that it's very difficult to tot up the figure of income. Just getting the data for the people below that 40% is not an easy task. And I have to say, ever since I worked on that, the number 40 has taken over my life because I'm spending a large amount of time on policies associated with the bottom 40%, on data gathering, and yeah, my life has been around this. I started doing economics as an undergraduate student, but that was a very strange compromise between my father and me. My father wanted me to do mathematics, and those were revolutionary days when I wanted to do nothing. And we argued, debated, and settled on economics as a halfway house between the two. When I came to the London School of Economics to do one more degree, a master's in economics, I really fell in love with the subject. So we are looking at the growth rate of the incomes of the bottom 40%. What that means is you first locate the individuals who are the bottom 40%. Then over time, you track not those individuals, but whoever falls into your bottom 40%. So next year, it may not be exactly the same set of people. Some would have gone out of the bottom 40, new people would have fallen into the bottom 40. And this is cleverly constructed because this forces you to pay attention even to people above the 40% mark. Because if you ignore them altogether, they will fall into your bottom 40% focus in the next period. We are seeing, for instance, that over the last 10 years, in Latin American countries, the bottom 40% is doing better than the average, which means the bottom 40% is closing in on the top 60%, so it's doing better than the average. Take two countries where the bottom 40% is doing worse than the average. This is true of India, this is true of China. To me, that is a dilemma. That is a sort of criticism of these countries. But the countries can come back to us and tell us that, look, our bottom 40% is doing worse than the average or doing worse than the top 60%. But the bottom 40% is doing better than the bottom 40% in many other countries. If you can grow so well that the top end is growing so fast, why not put in some special policy measures which tend to pull up the bottom also a bit faster? I love deductive reasoning. Economics is a strange combination of some math, lot of reasoning, and also thinking about everyday life. Having studied economics in London, I went back to India, and my development economics was picked up from the streets, chatting with a vendor about his reasoning as to why he was selling, what he was selling, where he was selling, fitting that into the puzzle of life. And it was experiences of that kind. You as an analyst can't allow emotions to cloud your analysis, but you have to recognize that the people you're analyzing, they themselves have minds which are not just doing deductive reasoning, but full of emotions, full of anxieties, full of love, hatred, and these things begin to crowd out their hard numbers and decision making. And that's what makes economics a fascinating discipline for me.